Welcome back. Today I'll read a recent blog post from my website at johnrogerberry.com, which I hope you'll find inspiring in your own spiritual life. But first, let's invoke spiritual blessings, that all beings may be filled with divine love, light, peace, and joy. Okay, now on to our reading. Love, the ultimate healer. We've all been wounded in life. The slings and arrows wrought by the impact of unfavorable or traumatic events and forged through the passage of time can sometimes carve a deep gash in our personality and affect our attitude. As a result, we often become cynical and bitter. If we undergo blow after blow over time, our negative outlook is only reinforced. This can have a chilling effect on us. Soon, much of our youthful optimism becomes extinguished and our hopes muzzled. We lose our luster, our joy of life, and we end up living a huddled life of quiet desperation. This negative mindset can become a vicious cycle. By wallowing in negativity, we actually draw more negativity into our lives. There is no escape from the circular cage we have built around ourselves. We become caught in a downward spiral of frustration, gloom, dashed expectations, hopelessness, and pessimism. Our negative attitude feeds on the very same negative thoughts that we continue to generate. Our perception of life is then colored by our chronic negative outlook. And so this is how we ourselves fuel our own psychological and spiritual descent. Our adverse circumstances in life may not change. We may continue to live under oppressive conditions and face daunting challenges. However, these unfavorable circumstances are not due to external causes, such as evil spirits or a curse placed on us by an enemy. They do not come about because of constant bad luck, imagined as a little dark cloud of misfortune that follows us everywhere and continuously rains on us. The source actually lies within us. The frustrations we feel, the sufferings we undergo, these are all very real. But this jumble of painful emotions originates inside us, because of how we respond to adverse outer events. According to the theory of karma, the principle of cause and effect, the external circumstances that appear in our lives are actually manifestations of our destiny ripening. We are reaping what we have sown in the past. Some of what we harvest is good, while some, as we know, is not so good. However, we tend to blame outer events and other people for our misfortunes rather than take responsibility for our own circumstances. This is natural. Still, sometimes certain situations in our lives cannot readily be changed, such as our job, where we live, or our family life. And so, how do we cope when faced with setbacks, thwartings, obstacles, impediments, unexpected turns of events, and the like, especially when we seemingly cannot escape our fate? We can choose to wallow in the troughs of the negativity we face by retreating in despair and licking our wounds. But does dwelling on our daily misfortunes really lead to solving our dilemma? We can instead actively intervene to pull ourselves out of our sorry state by changing our attitude. Knowing that our outer life isn't likely to magically alter in order to suit our hopes and desires, changing our outlook can help us cope with life's storms. Patanjali, the author of the ancient Yoga Sutra from Hinduism, offers a simple but powerful cure. Think opposite thoughts. Sutra 233 states, Vitarka Bhadane Pratipaksha Bhavanam, or roughly, when negative thoughts disturb the mind, opposite thoughts should be cultivated. Swami Shivananda, in his book Raja Yoga from 1937, comments on this and the related Sutra 234. He lists 13 negative qualities of mind and their opposite traits that should be cultivated in order to overcome the negative qualities. For example, one should conquer pride with humility or overcome arrogance with modesty. This practice can be extremely effective in surmounting specific intractable aspects in our character that need mending. And so, when negative thoughts and emotions overtake our mind, cultivating positive thoughts and emotions is indeed a potent coping mechanism. But what is required is more than the ability to cope with various situations. Coping strategies tend to be temporary fixes. What is needed is a more permanent cure, as Patanjali and Swami Shivananda anticipated. Instead of combating each negative emotional reaction with a specific remedy, I believe that a single factor alone can be globally applied to counteract many of the negative emotions that often plague our mind. And the single most positive and enduring quality we can instill in our mind is love. But the love I mention isn't the same as the love that commonly comes to mind. Many times love is merely an emotional attachment, physical attraction, or else it is narrowly applied. I love X person, but I don't love Y person. I am referring to the higher love, as defined by Plato and known as agape, selfless, unconditional love. Agape is mentioned a number of times in New Testament passages that occur after Christ's earthly departure. It has a counterpart in Tibetan Buddhism called bodhicitta, and references to this far-ranging universal love can be found in many other religions. In Christianity, St. Paul enjoins his followers to practice several noble qualities, and he leaves no doubt about which one he considers the greatest. Clothe yourselves with hearts of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with one another. Forgive others as the Lord has forgiven you. And over all these, put on love, agape. We and we alone possess the power to make this change. The opposite of negativity in all forms is love, which I believe is the strongest non-physical element in the universe. We must divest ourselves of our accumulated frustration, anger, animosity, negative attitude, and pessimistic outlook, especially those hidden pockets of emotional pollutants that we often subconsciously nurture. These emotions are toxic, they are afflictive, and act as a cancer on our spiritual essence. All must go. St. Paul famously, soaringly wrote, "Three qualities will endure forever: faith, hope, and unlimited unconditional love, agape. But the greatest of these is agape." Love alone is the sovereign cure, the most powerful remedy we can apply to permanently counteract the negativity within ourselves. In the Hebrew Bible, God instructs, "Wash and purify yourselves," from Isaiah 1:16. The esoteric meaning of this phrase is to cleanse oneself inwardly of all the stains that cover one's soul. I believe love is so powerful it can thoroughly scour our inner being and purge the layers of emotional debris and unproductive traits we have amassed in our lives. Okay, how do we cultivate this love, which seems out of our grasp? When St. Thomas Aquinas was once asked how to love God, he replied, "Will to love him." In a similar manner, we can use our will to nurture and develop this love in our hearts. Just as we repeatedly exercise in order to build our muscles, our repeated practice of invoking a state of love within ourselves will assist in producing results over time, provided we practice diligently. Love has a tangible feeling associated with it. If we are largely lacking love in our lives, we will not readily recognize this feeling. But just as the best way to learn how to meditate is by meditating, so too the best way to feel love is simply to love, to imagine the sensation of love and plant it firmly in our heart. We can also visualize someone we truly love, such as our spouse, child, or a pet, whichever spontaneously brings a smile to our face and joy in our heart. Devotional aspirants can practice by invoking their love of God. Then, once we palpably feel this love within us, we must nurture it so we feel it at all times. Soon we'll be so preoccupied with the love we feel that it will drown out our emotional reactions to adversity. We'll overflow with this limitless love as if it were all that exists. And what about loving one another? We can't even begin to love others if we don't first have love within our own hearts. How can we light a torch when we ourselves don't possess a single match? A large conflagration begins with a lone spark. We must first ignite the living flame of love, as St. John of the Cross described it, inside ourselves. Then we can truly spread love to our fellow humans and all creatures. This doesn't happen overnight. As with acquiring any new skill, the key is to practice enthusiastically over the course of time. And this doesn't mean we must like negative circumstances that befall us or malicious people who harm us. It simply means we don't allow these types of adverse circumstances or bothersome people to extinguish the unconditional love we are fostering. Even if we undergo periods of unrelenting adversity, even if we are called to oppose oppressive situations in our lives, we cannot allow these negative forces to sabotage our love. And so, as we move through the daily grind of our own life, let's not get stuck and imprisoned by our own negative outlook, but rather press forward and overcome all negative attitudes within ourselves by cultivating, then applying the balm of unlimited love in all areas of our life. Love is the ultimate healer. We'll be back with more readings. Until next time, be well, keep up your spiritual practices, and always radiate joy and love.